Okay, I need to ask you something. How do you make a fifth movie when your main character literally died? Like, seriously, that's not a cliffhanger, that's not an open ending, that's a grave. We saw the body fall. We saw Winston and the Bowery King standing at John's grave. It felt like the perfect goodbye. Everybody walked out of the theater thinking, yep, that's it, Baba Yaga is finally resting. And then, 3 years later, here we are talking about John Wick Chapter 5. Okay, somehow this man refuses to stay away. At this point, I'm starting to think retirement is harder than fighting 100 assassins. Now, before anybody starts yelling no, nobody is saying John Wick suddenly jumped out of the grave and started loading another pistol. That's not what's happening, but what is happening is honestly just as interesting. Keanu Reeves is returning as John Wick not once, not twice, but at least 3 different times. Yep, 3. So even though Chapter 4 looked like the end, the franchise clearly isn't ready to leave its most famous assassin behind. And honestly, can you blame them? The John Wick franchise has become one of Lionsgate's biggest successes. Every movie somehow managed to become bigger than the previous one. The action became crazier, the world became larger, and Keanu Reeves became even more connected to this character. At this point, when people hear John Wick, they don't just think about the movies, they think about Keanu Reeves. The two almost feel impossible to separate. That's probably why even after Chapter 4 gave John what looked like a fitting ending, the franchise kept finding ways to bring him back. In fact, it already happened once. John made a small appearance in From the World of John Wick Ballerina, so even after Chapter 4, audiences weren't completely separated from him. But that's only the beginning because the next few years may have even more John Wick than people expected. The first confirmed return is actually something pretty different. An untitled John Wick video game is currently in development, and Keanu Reeves isn't just lending his face to it, he's directly involved alongside Chad Stahelski, and he'll also voice John Wick himself. Now here's where things become interesting. Instead of continuing the story after Chapter 4, the game is going backwards. It's going to be a prequel that takes place before the first John Wick movie, letting players become the legendary assassin before everything changed. And honestly, that's a pretty clever move. Instead of trying to answer the massive question of whether John survived or not, they're exploring a period we haven't really experienced before. We already know John was feared long before the first film even began. So stepping into that earlier version of the Baba Yaga could be something fans have wanted for years. Then there's the animated movie. Again, another prequel. Lionsgate previously announced an animated John Wick film that will tell the story of the famous Impossible Task. You know, that legendary mission John completed to earn his freedom from the assassin world before the events of the first movie. That story has been talked about for years, but we've never actually seen it. The animated film is being directed by Shannon Tyndall, written by Vanessa Taylor, with Chad Stahelski producing it. And just like the game, this project is already moving forward, so before John Wick Chapter 5 even arrives, fans may already get 2 completely different chances to spend more time with a character. Now that's actually fascinating because both projects are doing something very smart. They're not trying to erase Chapter 4, they're simply filling in parts of John's life that we've only heard about. Which brings us to the biggest question. What about Chapter 5? Well, that's where things become a little mysterious. John Wick 5 has officially been moving forward since April 2025. Keanu Reeves is returning as producer and star, Chad Stahelski is back to direct, and producers Basil Iwanek and Erica Lee are also returning. Now, remember how Reeves and Stahelski were originally pretty hesitant about making another movie after Chapter 4? Apparently, they didn't want to continue unless they found an idea that actually deserved another chapter. According to Lionsgate executive Adam Fogelson, they now seem to have exactly that. He explained that Reeves and Stahelski have landed on an idea they think can be really exciting. Now notice something very important. He didn't reveal what the idea actually is. Yep, they have the idea. We don't have the idea. Classic. So right now, Chapter 5 is still surrounded by mystery. Fogelson also made it clear that there's no release timeline yet. In fact, he specifically avoided putting one out there because, according to him, there are still a lot of steps before the movie gets off the ground, which honestly makes sense. Both Reeves and Stahelski are incredibly busy. Stahelski is currently working on the Henry Cavill-led Highlander reboot, while Reeves has an equally packed schedule with projects including Good Fortune, Outcome, Toy Story 5, and continuing to voice Shadow in the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. So even if the core idea for John Wick 5 is finally in place, actually making the movie could still take some time. And that's not the only reason fans may have to wait. Before Chapter 5 arrives, the franchise already has other stops planned. The Donnie Yen-led Kane spin-off is expected to come first. That's another major expansion of the John Wick universe, with Donnie Yen directing and starring alongside Rina Sawayama. More recent reports indicate filming could begin soon, potentially putting the movie on track for a late 2027 release. Only after that will the animated John Wick prequel likely arrive. So based on everything we know, Chapter 5 may actually be waiting until both of those projects have had their turn, which honestly says something interesting about the franchise. It's growing beyond just one movie every few years. They're building games, they're building animation, they're building spin-offs, but even while doing all that, they still keep coming back to John. And maybe that's because moving away from him isn't as easy as it sounds. Think about it. The franchise has tried expanding into different stories and different characters, but Keanu Reeves remains the biggest attraction. He's the face everyone recognizes. He's the reason many people fell in love with this world in the first place. So if you're introducing a video game or an animated movie, using John Wick himself immediately gives those projects a stronger connection to the main series. Instead of feeling like side adventures, they suddenly feel important. They feel like pieces of John's overall story. And from a storytelling perspective, that's actually a really interesting strategy. Rather than replacing John Wick immediately, they're exploring different parts of his life. The past, the legends, the missions we've only heard whispers about. That lets the universe grow while still keeping its central character at the heart of everything. Of course, there's another side to that conversation. If John keeps returning again and again, does the franchise ever truly move beyond him? Maybe, maybe not. It's difficult because Keanu Reeves is such a huge part of what made these movies special. His performance isn't just about action scenes, it's the quiet moments, the determination, the way John barely says anything but somehow controls the entire room. Now tell me in the comments, do you actually want John Wick 5, or do you think Chapter 4 should have been the final goodbye? And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one!